大家好，我是 Olive Branch 的 Alan. So your annual physical checkup is actually a very important tool to help you get a snapshot of the current situation of inside your body to know your health. Even as a professional, I don't really know how healthy I am inside the body. I know how I feel, but you really don't know the chemistry that's going on. So this is why an annual physical checkup and learning how to read the report can be very important for your health, not only right now, but also for your long-term health. It's also important to understand that each and every score in your report is not going to matter so much, but rather it paints a picture overall of how your health is doing. So think of each reading as a paintbrush, and in altogether, it actually paints a picture to determine where your health is headed. So in the physical checkup report, you'll have a score, your actual reading, and next to it is the range of normality, basically telling you whether you fit into this range and then you're fine, or if you're exceeding it, then it's a red flag. That's how they tell you. Well, you might all know this, but what you might not know is that this average range is actually based on the national average of what's going on in society. So if society as a whole is actually getting fatter and sicker, then if you follow in that average, doesn't mean you're actually doing okay, because you actually are following the trend of being sicker. So actually, we have come up with another range that's actually a little bit stricter than what you might see on a report. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some tips and advice on how to identify certain markers in your report that might not have normally been flagged, so that you can actually make choices and decisions to make your life a little bit healthier and a little bit fitter. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is sugar consumption. And because we are living in a society where there's too much sugar in our diet, it's actually causing a lot of our chronic diseases like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, stroke, etc. And so that's why the first metric that you really want to look at is your fasting blood glucose level. And that allows you to know at a snapshot in time, when you did the report, when you did the checkup, how much sugar is in your bloodstream still. This is important because it actually tells you how good your body is at clearing out glucose from your body and shunting it into your liver and muscle, and to be stored as energy for use later. If your body is impaired, meaning it has been damaged by eating too much sugar, then it'll actually have trouble moving the sugar away from your blood into your muscles and liver. It's called a fasting blood glucose because the doctor should have instructed you to not eat for 12 hours before the test. And this is important because they don't want you to test your blood levels when you've just had a big sugary breakfast and then you go in to check. It's going to make them think like you have diabetes. So this is why you fast for 12 hours, and this gives you the window of time for your body to clear out the glucose, to basically package it as glycogen stored in the liver, stored in the muscle, or burn it off. Now, this is where when your body is actually damaged and you can't handle all this sugar coming in, it doesn't know how to manage the sugar, and then it stays in your bloodstream. And that's how it'll show up in the report. That this is only one marker, and we need to keep going. You want to highlight this because it is something that you want to flag. But let's see if the other markers also point in the same direction, because if they all do, then you have a clear signal that you need to make this lifestyle change. But if this is an outlier, something of a different data point, then maybe you're not actually doing so bad and you don't need to freak out so far. So what's related to your high sugar or high blood sugar level is your liver function, because your liver handles all the sugar that's coming in from your diet. And so your liver processes that sugar, and if you have too much of it, then your liver will start to break down. It'll be overwhelmed. And so this is why we'll now look into the ALT, okay, which is the alanine transferase enzyme. And that actually tracks how inflamed your liver is, meaning how much damage your liver has already taken from possibly too much sugar intake. As we mentioned in an earlier video on fatty liver, it's extremely important to keep it healthy because it is such an important organ that manages your metabolism. And so it's very important to look at your ALT and to make sure that number that you get is less than 25. Now that is actually much stricter than you might see in the range in the report. And again, this is because I actually think that the range is drifting along with the average of the country. And as they're getting sicker, their liver is actually also getting fattier. It's pushing that range. So just to give you a little bit more context, about 100 years ago, when people didn't have access to so much sugar in their diet, the ALT on average was probably at less than 15. Now, maybe even 5 years ago, I saw reports with ranges maybe even up to 30 now. And even up to today, I've seen ranges pushed up to as high as 50 as being acceptable. Now, this, as you can see, is a trend where it's actually growing worse and worse and worse. So you don't want to follow that average. You want to stick to an average that you think is healthy. So guys, if your ALT is above 25, I would definitely raise this as a red flag, and you should probably intervene and change your lifestyle somewhat to make sure that you can drive that number back down. So now that you have an idea of your fasting blood glucose level, you also know the function of your liver. This is pointing a direction of how your body is handling sugar in general. But there are many other markers that are on the report, and there are even some markers that aren't on the report that you need to especially request the doctor to test you for in order to have a bigger picture and have a good understanding of where your health status is. So if you're actually interested to knowing all these numbers and markers, check out our drawline video where we actually go into a deep dive into each and every one so that we can actually have a better understanding of the report, and then you can actually track this from year to year to year to see how your lifestyle changes, whether your exercise routine or your diet is actually influencing your health status by understanding now what to look out for, what the ranges are on the report, but what really the standard should be for your own health. That's it, guys. I hope you found that useful. As always, please leave any questions or comments below, and I'll see you next time.